Hey guys, it's Thursday, I'm Tom, and I'm back with week 3 of Finding an Agent.
This is 10% luck, 20% skill, 15% concentrated power of will, 5% pleasure, 50% pain, and 100% reason to remember the name.
So I've already talked about how I got to this point where I'm ready to find an agent. I've talked about a little bit about the revision process, about getting your book to the point where it's ready to send out to agents and look for someone to represent you. And this week I'm going to talk about how I found my list of agents that I'm going to query when I get to that point. So I have 40 agents that I'm going to query, and I'm going to do it in 3 stages. I have a top 10 list that I'm going to query first, and then I have 2 lists of 15 that I'm going to I'm going to follow up with. So there are hundreds and hundreds of agents out there, and it's really important that you pick agents who you think are a great fit for you as a writer and for the material for the book. Very, very important that you find somebody who is a good fit. It's really good to do your homework and have a list of people who you think will make sense for you. So it's different for everybody. Different people have different ways of getting in touch with different agents and agencies, but I'm just going to talk about the way that I did it. So I went through 3 main avenues to find my list of 40. Number 1, I paid attention to who the agents were behind the books that I really loved over the last few years. So I stuck to young adult books because the project I'm querying is a young adult book, and I've been doing that for a while. Every time I read a book that I really love, I find out who the agent was and I put it on my master list, which is literally dozens and dozens and dozens of agents. And so I did get a number of agents in my pool of 40 from having read books that they represented in the past. Another thing that I've done is I have spent a lot of time on Twitter, and Twitter is, as a lot of you out there realize, a great place for the online book community to hang out. A lot of writers, agents, publicists, you name it, readers, obviously, first and foremost, are hanging out on Twitter. They're talking about books, and they're having great conversations about the types of books they've been reading, the types of books that they're trying to sell if they are an agent or work for an agency, or the types of books that they're writing if they're a writer. And if you are interested in talking to or learning about or following agents on Twitter, you should be organic. Have conversations when it's appropriate, when something comes up that's interesting to you, but don't go out of your way to stalk them and say, I have a great book, you should look at my book. There are agents on Twitter who I love following, that I have had interactions with, who are saying really interesting and intelligent things that I don't think are a good fit for me. And there are also agents who I've found out about on Twitter who I have come to believe would be a really good partner in a working relationship. So again, a lot of the names on my top 40 have come from the Twitterverse. So finally, the other thing that I have done is I spend a lot of time on Query Tracker, which is an online literary database of agents and agencies. And I will spend, an hour or 2 here and there, and have done so for a couple of years, reading through different profiles, reading about agencies, finding out about what sales have gone on in recent months and weeks, and doing my research behind the actual agents that are on there. And there are a lot of agents on Query Tracker. Ultimately, those 3 techniques have worked for me, and I have a great solid list of 40 that I've, as I said, broken down into 3 separate lists. And the number one thing that they all have in common is that I've done my research. I've spent a lot of time, years in fact, researching agents, thinking about what I'm looking for in an agent, which is incidentally what I'm going to talk about next week in a bit more detail, what I'm looking for in an agent and the different types of agents. And at the end of the day, I think I'm going to be better off for it, having done all that research. I hope you all have a great week. Come back next week for week 4, when I will talk about specifics of what I want in that relationship with an agent and different types of agents that are out there. So thanks a lot. Talk to you soon.